coming out to our presentation today for City on the Move. Today's topic is eye health, and we have Dr. Shari and Dr. Katie Brown, who will be presenting from UAMS today. I also wanted to recognize our champion, Michelle Begoyes, who set this presentation up, and thank you all for coming out to support her as a champion. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those. Our presenters will repeat the questions so everyone can hear the questions, but thank you again for coming out.
All right, thank you so much for coming out today. Let me grab this clicker here. I'm Dr. Katie Brown. I'm an optometrist and assistant professor at UAMS Jones Eye Institute. I've been there about 6 years now, in practice about 7. So we'll just go ahead and get started today. We are talking about eye health and just some really common eye problems, treatments, recommendations on when to see the eye doctor. I'm pressing this button. Okay. Which I was pressing that one? Oh, it's upside down. All right, we got the remote working now. So the first topic is cataracts. This is one of the most common things probably that you've heard of. People get cataracts and glaucoma sometimes confused. I've noticed with my patients coming in, they think they're interchangeable. They are not, so we're going to talk a little bit about this today. This is what they are not, right? So this is not a cat or something to do with the cat in the eye. This is also one of my favorite things. They are not Cadillacs, all right? This is my favorite mispronunciation of this, but this is what they are. So this is an opacification of the natural lens in the eye, okay? So that natural lens sits behind the colored part of the eye called the iris. And so your vision with cataracts can get a little foggy or hazy. On the left here, you see normal vision. So light comes into the eye, hits the natural lens, and focuses on the back part of the eye called the retina. Over here on the right, you see that light comes into the eye, gets scattered, and then it doesn't quite reach the back of the eye like it should. So you get this kind of foggy image. Cataracts can also cause kind of a double vision or a ghosting. And something really common is glare while driving at nighttime. We'll talk about that a little more later. It can affect color vision, so colors don't appear quite as bright or vivid. What cataracts are not? So cataracts do not cause burning, stinging, or other sensations in the eye. They are painless. You don't feel them. They don't make your eyes red. They don't make your eyes light sensitive. Your vision does not blur with eye use. If your vision's blurry with cataracts, it's just going to be a constant blur. So it's not a fluctuating blurry vision. It's just kind of constant, and it gradually changes over time. And then cataracts are not floaters. So a lot of people have floaters in their eyes. We're going to talk about that some more later, but little floaty things in your vision, that's not cataracts either. So symptoms, again, blurry vision, that's constant. People say, hey, doc, my glasses and contact lenses aren't working great for me anymore. So that's they start throwing them at me. This prescription's wrong. Glare and trouble driving at nighttime, that's the first complaint that people usually say, hey, I can't drive at night anymore. I'm avoiding going out after dark. I can't do it. I'm scared. So prevention, other than getting older, so cataracts, everybody gets cataracts if you live long enough. It's just one of those things you get. Your lens gets a little hazy as you get older. It just happens at different times for people. Some people may get cataracts at 45. Some people may not have significant cataracts until their 80s, okay? So things you can do to prevent progression of cataracts is protect your eyes from sun by using sunglasses that protect UVA, UVB, against UVA and UVB. Stop smoking or never start. Diabetes management. If you have diabetes, you're more likely to get pre-senile cataracts or cataracts when you're young. And then if you have to take steroids, inhaled steroids or oral steroids for another pre-existing medical condition, that can accelerate cataract growth, trauma to the eye. And then I always ask people, when did your parents have to have cataract surgery? People usually know, oh, it was when they were 50, or no, my mom's 90. She still hasn't had to have them. So usually you'll kind of follow in your parents' footsteps. Before we go straight to cataract surgery, there are some non-surgical options. First, we try to get your vision really good with just getting you a new pair of glasses. So as the cataract opacifies, it changes the shape of the natural lens, and it can change your prescription. So we just try to adjust that prescription. We try to hold off on surgery as long as we can. This is the surgery implant. So the lens in the eye, the natural lens, actually is kind of like a contact lens. It focuses light. When we take that out, we have to put something back in its place. This is an implantable contact lens. Essentially, it stays in there. We don't remove it. It's with you your entire life. And the cool thing about this is we can adjust that and make it perfect for your prescription that you already have in your glasses. So it's almost like getting a refractive surgery and a cataract surgery all at once. We can correct your vision with this implant. So we know that if you have surgery, we hope that you have a great outcome, and it's going to improve your vision, improve your color vision, decrease your glare, and diminish ghosting at nighttime. So again, implantable contact lens, you get to get rid of your thick glasses. All right, people who've been wearing glasses since they were 6 years old can now enjoy, glasses-free distance vision. You'll still probably have to put on reading glasses up close if you're over the age of 40. That's called presbyopia. That happens to everybody. You see people sticking on reading glasses that have never worn glasses in their life, or getting the dreaded B word, the bifocal. But cataract surgery can correct your distance vision. It's pretty amazing for these people with really thick glasses. So what cataract surgery cannot do, again, it can't relieve those floaters. This is an example, this picture here of floaters, kind of black spots in your vision that you see occasionally. I always say a few floaters that you see sometimes, not usually a big deal. A whole lot of floaters that are new and progressing and not going away, that's the time to seek your optometrist or ophthalmologist. Get in for an eye exam, get dilated, make sure that it's nothing more serious. It cannot correct dry eye. Okay, again, cataracts are not a comfort issue, so if you have cataract surgery, you're not going to feel more comfortable. All right, it's just going to correct vision. It's not going to make your eyes more comfortable or change your eye color. There's a common misconception that you might get green eyes after cataract surgery if you had brown eyes. All right, Dr. Shiry's going to get up here and talk about dry eye.
Hello, I'm Dr. Megan Shiry. I've been in practice for 3 years at UAMS for 3 to 4 months, so relatively new to Jones Eye. And I'll move on. We'll talk about dry eye syndrome. This is a super common problem, a super common complaint that has a lot of different symptoms, so I think this will be pretty helpful to go over. So dry eye is a general term, but there's actually different types of dry eye. So if you're having problems, your doctor will do an exam to determine the type of dry eye you have to tailor your treatment towards your type of dry eye. So there's 2 different types. One is when you have the tear film that goes over the eye is just a poor quality tear film. And so typically the tear film just evaporates way quicker than it's supposed to, and so it makes your vision blurry and makes your eyes uncomfortable. So the outer layer that's made up of the lipids, that's what's not good quality, and so that's why the tear film evaporates too quickly. The other type of dry eye is when you have a lack of tear production. So your lacrimal glands aren't functioning quite like they should, and so there's not enough tears going onto the ocular surface. So that's from the middle layer of the tear film, and again, treatment will be a little different for that. There's a lot of different conditions that can cause either type of dry eye. The one with the lack of tear production, that's super common with age, hormone changes, and then other systemic conditions can cause that. So this is a good picture to get an idea of the different layers of the tear film. So all the way on the right is where you see that lipid layer. And that is created from glands that are actually in your eyelids. And so when you blink, it gets the lipids to come out and keep that tear film even across your eye. And the middle one right there is the aqueous layer, and then the bottom one closest to the eye is the mucin layer. So dry eye symptoms, hear them all day, every day in practice. Burning, my eyes burn, I can't get it to go away. I feel like there's sand in my eyes, or something stuck in my eye, gritty feeling. Blurred vision, if you have really advanced dry eye, it can really blur your vision. And a lot of people, I'll say, well, does it clear up when you blink a lot? Yeah, it does. Well, that's because you're renewing your tear film and clearing up your vision. This is very counterintuitive, but when your eyes are really dry, they tear a lot. So that is very confusing. So a lot of patients say, my eyes are tearing, and I look at them and I say, well, you actually have dry eye. And they're like, no. My eyes are tearing, so they're not dry. And so I have to explain that it's just a reflex tear. So your ocular surface is so dry that your eyes are trying to make up for it just by pouring tears out, but they're not good quality tears, and they're just falling down on your face. And then redness, again, in pretty advanced dry eyes, your eyes are red and irritated. This typically worsens throughout the day, just as you're going about your day looking at computers. That's become a huge problem. Your blink rate decreases, and so you're not renewing the tear film across your eye. So a lot of people have problems when they have a job that requires them to look at a computer all day. Reading, any activity like that, your blink rate's going to decrease. And this also can drastically be affected by your environment. So wind, smoking can really make dry eye worse. Low humidity, and then I already talked about the blink rate. So I often ask patients, do you sleep underneath a fan? That's a big one, because your eyes aren't completely sealed shut when you're sleeping, and so your eyes can dry out. This is a problem for me, so I put artificial tears in before I go to bed, and then right when I wake up, because I like to sleep underneath the fan, so that's a big one. Sometimes your doctor will recommend to use a humidifier in your room. If it's really bad, that's something to consider. So a lot of patients, contact lens patients, notice that when they get in the car and they're blasting that AC, their eyes dry out. So modifications, turning your vents, away from your face, will help a lot with your symptoms. So many things to look at and consider when we have patients with a history of dry eye or just new complaints of dryness. Again, quality of the tear film that I talked about, your doctor might put in a yellow dye into the eye, and this lets us look at the tear film in more detail. And I'll show you some pictures of that in a moment, and to give us an idea of what the tear film problem is. Medication list. A lot of medications can dry out your eyes and cause problems. A common one is antihistamines. They dry out your eyes. So definitely review your meds. And like I said, a lot of diseases can contribute to dry eye. So we'd be looking at that to see if that's a problem for you. A lot of patients undergoing chemo experience severe dry eye, so it's part of your whole body that can contribute to your problems. Eyelids, we'll have some pictures in a moment of that as well. So like I mentioned, the eyelids are part of keeping your eyes healthy and keeping that tear film stable. The glands there are part of the problem. So some patients have dry eye and problems with their eyelids, and if you only fix one, you're only getting 50% improvement. And then another big one is contact lens wear. A lot of contact lens patients experience dry eye. Your doctor can help you troubleshoot different lens options that will reduce your problems with that, and different drops that can be used. And then eye allergies as well. So this is what I was talking about, the yellow dye. So this is a good comparison. I picked some drastic ones to help compare. So the left eye, that's a healthy tear film. So when we're looking under high magnification at your eyes, that is very healthy. You'll see that the dye is just evenly across the eye. There's no areas of irregularity. It looks really good. So that's a really great tear film. And then on the right, this is a pretty extreme example of dryness. So all those little specks right there, I tell patients it kind of looks like somebody took a piece of sandpaper and just rubbed it all over your eye. that is why you're experiencing the grittiness and irritation. So that's a pretty extreme example. Another thing that we're looking at, if you were to take the picture on the left and I tell you, okay, open real wide, don't blink, I'm looking to see how long it takes that tear film to break up. And if it evaporates really quickly, then I know that's part of your problem. And then this is the eyelid comparison that I referenced. So on the left, those are normal, healthy eyelids. So they're nice and clean. There's no redness. There's no debris. Whereas on the right, it's a condition called blepharitis, which literally means inflammation of your eyelids. And a lot of this you can't see just looking at yourself in the mirror. We're looking under very high magnification. And these patients have a lot of debris at the base of their lids. And I think a lot of people, I mean, they're very clean people. They would just be very disgusted to know that that's what it looks like, but it's so microscopic. So that makes your eyelids red and irritated, and that's a contributing factor. So if that is a contributing factor, you might be looking at drops for the dryness, and then it'll depend on what it looks like, but either lid scrubs to clean the lids off or warm compresses and things like that. Did you have a question?
So the picture we're seeing, that is actually the irritation. And so it's just so small that is what's forming.
Yes. So she asked if the picture that we were seeing was the irritation, and yeah, so it's very rare that you would just look in the mirror and see all of that. So that's just a representation, but under the high mag, you can see all sorts of debris along the base of the lashes. So there's that picture. So that's what we're looking at under the high mag. And so you'll see all that little debris along the base, and that can really irritate the eyes and cause a host of problems. So treatment for dry eye is far and wide. There's always new drugs on the market for this because this is becoming such a widespread problem. So it will depend on the type and the severity and your history as to how it's treated. Typically, treatment would be started with an over-the-counter artificial tear. Your doctor can recommend which one based on what your eyes look like. There's so many out there, so I like to recommend a specific one. That way, when you go to the drugstore, you're not overwhelmed by which one to get. Consistency is key. I have patients all the time come in and say, my eyes are gritty, my eyes are dry. Okay, how many times are you using those tears? Once every other day. Well, you might as well just not use them. So you've got to use them consistently to keep the tear film stable along the eye. If you really need it, lubricating ointment or gel at bedtime can keep the eye more lubricated and protected during the night. That way you don't wake up with that gritty feeling. We already talked about environment modifications. And then, prescription medications for dry eye, definitely common. They'll be used when indicated. Everybody's heard of Restasis. There's a new drug called Xiidra. A little mild steroid can help calm down the inflammation. So it would depend on what type of dry eye you have, but there are prescription options out there. And then punctal plugs, where a little plug is inserted into the puncta that drains your tears. And again, that's determined based on the type of dryness that you have. And then the eyelids, the inflammation, lid scrubs, warm compresses. In extreme cases, you might need an oral antibiotic. So again, that would be tailored depending on what your lids look like. All right, Dr. Brown.
All right, hot topic number 3, glaucoma. Again, cataracts and glaucoma commonly confused in the office that I hear from my patients. So what is glaucoma? We know cataracts are an opacification of the natural lens. Glaucoma is increased eye pressure that damages the optic nerve. The optic nerve is the nerve that kind of plugs into the back of the eye and sends information from the eye to the very back of the brain, in the very back of your head, to the occipital lobe. So normal eye is on the left, and an eye with glaucoma, the pressure is increased. It creates pressure on the back of the eye, on that optic nerve. As we know with like back pain and pinched nerves don't like to get pressed on, okay? They don't like it. It usually causes pain. Unfortunately, with glaucoma, no pain. It's painless. But that optic nerve does not like it. So as it gets pressed on, it starts to thin and atrophy and die. And you can imagine if your optic nerve is dying, what could be happening to your vision. What glaucoma is not. I actually saw this on Facebook, which cracked me up. So glaucoma is not like a Glock handgun in your eye. Okay, this was just a funny picture. I feel like this is what patients maybe think it is sometimes, but not the case. So who is at risk for glaucoma? Everyone, okay? So the older you get, the more at risk you are. However, there's even juvenile glaucoma in kids, which is really bad. Those with family members who have glaucoma, up to a 10 times increased risk. So talk to your family. I always say, do you have any brothers or sisters with glaucoma? That's the big one. Mothers, fathers, an aunt that was married in, not so much. Okay, blood relatives. African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians have a higher risk of developing glaucoma. However, my own father has glaucoma, so it doesn't discriminate. Steroid users, inhaled or oral steroids can cause you to get glaucoma much sooner. Glaucoma and cataracts, we talked about that, much sooner than the average person. Eye injuries. If you were hit as a kid, if you had a firework to the eye, it was just 4th of July, some kind of trauma that can contribute. And hypertension and diabetes. If you already have those systemic conditions, then you're more at risk to develop glaucoma. So what does glaucoma vision loss look like? So we've got normal vision over here on the left. You can see the stop sign, you can see the car to the left, and then look at the person with glaucoma. Kind of scary. They don't even know there's a stop sign there, and there's no car, right? So it starts peripheral vision loss. And another scary thing with glaucoma, we already talked about it being painless pressure, usually. You can lose 40% of your peripheral vision and not know it. You don't realize it. I have patients say, the cars are just popping out at me over here. You have vision loss. So again, most of the time glaucoma is asymptomatic. No, you can't tell. You're not going to say, well, I don't have any eye pain. I'm fine, doc. I don't understand why you're telling me I have glaucoma. That's why you go to the eye doctor. Get your pressures checked everywhere. Get an eye exam. Get a comprehensive eye exam. There is a type of glaucoma that is very painful, like you're going to know something's happening with your eye. It's that top right picture. It's a really cloudy cornea, red eye, red angry eye. So you have intense pain and pressure, blurry vision, or even halos or rainbows around lights like this bottom picture. And the pain is so intense you get sick to your stomach. You get nausea and vomiting. So you're going to know something's happening. Get to an ER immediately. This can cause vision loss in a matter of hours even. Okay. So glaucoma treatment, we have medication, drops, or oral medication. There are lasers, so the eye is constantly producing fluid and constantly draining fluid. Those lasers kind of help with that drainage system. It opens up the drainage system and allows the fluid to flow out faster, and so does surgery. Can't talk about glaucoma without talking about medical marijuana, hot topic in Arkansas right now. Unfortunately for glaucoma, when smoked, the eye pressure is only lowered for about 3 to 4 hours. And the THC-free stuff, like the oils and things, they don't lower the eye pressure. You need the THC to lower the eye pressure. Marijuana can also cause other eye side effects, decrease visual acuity, cause vision dimness, decrease photosensitivity and dark adaptation. That's just when you go from light to dark, that time for your eyes to adjust slows down. Increased light sensitivity, increased eyelid spasms, and decreased tear production and reduced blink rate, contributing to dryness. We all know that when somebody has been smoking marijuana, their eyes get really red, right? Get really dry, really angry. And then, so just all in all, the risk and the complications outweigh the benefits when it comes to glaucoma treatment. Other prescription medications can provide a lot better control of eye pressure because they They have fewer side effects, fewer doses. There's a drop. One of the drops you can just use at bedtime once a day, and much longer effects. So again, you would have to smoke marijuana every 3 hours or so. And I have a question right here.
Yeah, just because it is a hot topic, what if it's ingested and not just smoked?
Sure. So the question was, what if it's ingested? What if you don't smoke it, or use oils or drops or something like that? Is that a better way to deliver it to be more productively decreasing the pressure? The answer is no. Next point here is the American Optometric Association says the use of marijuana in any form as a medication to reduce eye pressure and glaucoma is not safe or practical. So you're probably not going to get your medical marijuana card from your eye doctor, unfortunately. In fact, our policy at UAMS is we're just not doing this because there are better treatment options that are safer for you. We wouldn't be doing a good job if we said, yeah, use it for your glaucoma. Smoke 1 blunt a day every 3 to 4 hours or PRN as needed. That we wouldn't be doing you any favors there. Yes, sir, I have another question. Is glaucoma reversible? Glaucoma is not reversible. We try to stop progression. If you're diagnosed with glaucoma, it's for a lifetime, unfortunately. So you don't get to use the drops, for a few months and be cured. So unfortunately, it's one of those things that's going to be with you for a lifetime.
But you manage it.
Yes, we can manage it. We can prevent you from having that vision loss if it's caught early enough. Okay, if you don't come to us with 40%, of your vision gone, by that time it's severe glaucoma.
All right, next common condition is age-related macular degeneration, which I'm sure everybody has heard of. So what is AMD? So it's a disorder that's affecting the macula, which is the center part of your retina. So that is the area that light is focusing on. The center part of the macula is something called the fovea, so that's right where the light focus is. But this is central vision that we're talking about. So glaucoma, peripheral vision, macular degeneration, central. So the outer layers of the retina start to break down. We'll look at some pictures in a minute. So it's typically in both eyes. It can be asymmetric. So AMD patients can sometimes even have extremes where they've got one eye that's very good and one eye that's unfortunately very bad. So you've got distorted central vision in the early stages, and then you'll have like significant central vision loss in the late stages. And this is unfortunately the most common cause of irreversible vision loss in developed countries. So there's two categories, broad categories that this condition fits into: dry and wet. So dry, you don't have any new blood vessels or fluid forming that shouldn't be there. And then the wet is what you hear about your friends going to get injections every month at the eye doctor. That's what those are for, is to treat the wet form. So the dry is the most common form, about 90%. It can be a huge range. It can be super mild and barely affect your vision at all, and it's just something for us to watch. Or it could have the geographic kind where it's still dry, but whole center part of your retina is just atrophied and thin, and you can have really profound vision loss from the dry form. And then the wet, again, that's more rapid progression. So those are typically the patients that have had macular degeneration, and then they call you and say, hey, my right eye got blurry yesterday. They come in, and then they've converted from the dry form to the wet form because they had some new fluid pop up that wasn't there before. So here's some pictures. This is the dry form. So on the left side, this is what we look at in the back of your eye in the retina. This is why we always push you to be dilated. We can't see all of this unless your eyes are dilated. So if you go and you're not getting dilated, you're just getting a partial eye exam. So this is a picture of the right eye, and you'll see right there in the middle those areas of white. That's the macula, and that's macular degeneration. This on the right is a scan that we take through that retina. So it's like cuts through, and we can look at all of the layers. And so right there at the bottom, those little irregular parts, that's early macular degeneration. And then the other extreme, this is the wet form. So again, this picture on the left, now we've got some blood. That's not normal. That shouldn't be there. That's because it's turned into the exudative, the wet type. And then over here is that same type of scan, but you'll see that layer, that black, that's a pocket of fluid from the macular degeneration. So the big thing on this is to monitor for progression. How do you do that? One, come back to your eye doctor when they ask you to. So depending on the level is when we'll ask to see you again to watch it. So keeping those appointments is critical. Every time you come in, depending on how bad it is, we'll repeat those scans and track you for progression. And then you'll often, depending on what level you're at, be given an Amsler grid. So it's a square picture right there, and you'll get directions about how to monitor it each eye, and that would help you notice if it suddenly converted to the wet form and would help you to come in. A lot of times also say, when you're watching TV or, cover each eye and make sure your vision's stable, or look at the door frame and make sure everything looks fine. So what happens sometimes is one eye gets really blurry and this is a perfect 20/20 eye, and then they walk around for a few months and don't notice. So I always tell patients to do a self-check. So treatment options, this is another super hot area for research right now because unfortunately there's not a lot of treatment options. It causes tons of vision loss. It's a huge problem, and we don't have we can't make it go away. We can only treat what has happened already. So the dry form, no definitive treatment. We can only encourage preventative measures. So no smoking or smoking cessation is huge. Patients that smoke are at huge, it's 9 times increased risk for macular degeneration. So I always say also, did you smoke? And some people are like, yeah, but only for a year 40 years ago. Great. So it just kind of depends on your history. UV protection is huge. A lot of these are the same as cataracts. Pretty much all the preventative things apply to eye health overall. So UV protection, a big one is leafy green vegetables, healthy diet. And then the antioxidant supplementation, it's an A-REDS vitamin, may be indicated depending on what your eyes look like. And then the wet is the injections that I talked about. There's a lot of different types of medication, but they're all in the same class. They're called anti-VEGF, and what that does is that it shuts down the blood vessels that are there and prevents new ones from growing and creating the blood and the fluid that we looked at. All right.
Okay, so diabetes and hypertension in the eye. Hypertension. 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. That's a lot of people, right? That's a ton. It's 75 million people in the U.S. Only half have their blood pressure under control. That's sad, right? We want blood pressure to be under control. Having high blood pressure increases your risk for heart disease and stroke, and those are the leading causes of death in the United States. What about diabetes? 30 million people have diabetes. 7.2 of those are undiagnosed. They don't even know it. They don't feel bad. They don't know it. In 2003, 250,000 Arkansans had diabetes. 10 years later, 340,000. We are beating the national average. National average is 9.4 of the U.S. population has diabetes. Here in Arkansas, 11.5% of our population. We don't want to win that race, okay? That means we've got to get it together. We've got to control our eating. We've got to have better health, more exercise. So eye changes associated with diabetes and hypertension, cataracts, glaucoma. We've gone over those. Corneal problems. We'll go over cranial nerve palsies. You can have strokes to the eye. You can have strokes everywhere else. Why not the eye, right? And retinopathy, problems with the retina, and macular edema. We'll go over some of this. So cranial nerve palsies. This is kind of trippy, right? You feel like something's wrong with your eyes when you're looking at these pictures. This is a lack of oxygen to your eye muscles. Your eye muscles are what point both eyes at the same thing. So if you have a lack of oxygen to one of your eye muscles, an eye starts drifting. They're not pointing at the same thing. They've got 2 different images. You get 2 different images. You get double vision, okay? So double vision, you might have a head tilt to try and neutralize some of that double vision. A lazy eye, if you see someone who developed an eye turn, in or out, that's not normal. A eyelid droop, a droopy eyelid on one side all of a sudden is not normal. And A dilated pupil. If somebody has just one dilated pupil, and usually you're going to be the one telling them about it, you're going to say, what's wrong with your eye over here? Tell them to go to the ER. That could be an aneurysm or blood in the brain. That's scary, right? So we care a lot about pupils, and we want them to be equal. So if one's big, get your friends to the ER. So I'm not going to test you over this. This is a really long one. This is a stroke to the eye, a non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy. You got it? Easy, right? But it is. It's a stroke to the optic nerve. All right, and the optic nerve we know is what carries that vision information to the brain. You get peripheral vision loss and blurry vision in one eye. Okay, that optic nerve is all swollen and hazy. You can't even tell where that optic nerve begins and ends. It's there, but it just kind of looks like a blob. Okay, hard to even tell in that picture where it is, and that's the point. It's swollen, it's angry, it's had a stroke. Artery and vein occlusions. This is just a different type of stroke to the eye. It's where you have a blockage of the vessels in the eye that deprive the eye of oxygen. Symptoms are painless loss of vision in one eye, and that can be very sudden or kind of a dimming over the course of a few days. In amaurosis fugax, that's something that happens. It's an acute loss of vision for about 10 to 15 minutes, but then it comes back. This is a warning sign. Your vision should never just shut out. Okay, that's scary. That's a sign that you might be having a stroke pretty soon that might cause permanent damage. This is a picture here on the bottom, right? There's lots of blood. That's a pretty red retina, but there's lots of blood spots. There's blood all over the place. This person's had a vein occlusion. See, that's a normal eye. Lots of blood. Normal eye. Normal eye. So big difference there. You can't see through blood, okay? That's going to affect your vision. So a third of the diabetics over the age of 40 have diabetic retinopathy. And 1.1 million people have vision-threatening retinopathy. It's the leading cause of new cases of blindness among, I would say, working adults, right? These are the people working. 20 years old, can you imagine being 25 and losing your vision due to diabetes? It happens all the time because people think, oh, I'm young, I don't have to manage it, I'll do that later. This is what happens. Lots of bleeding in the back of the eye that's just irreversible in some cases. Symptoms, blurry vision, floaters. So again, a few floaters that you've had for a while and you see them sometimes, that's okay. Tons of floaters, new floaters, not okay. Need to get that checked out. Loss of vision, and then patients with retina changes can also have normal vision. So this picture here is our normal retina. This person had 20/20 vision, but he's about to have something bad happen, right? He's about to lose vision altogether. 50% of patients are not getting their eyes examined or are diagnosed too late for treatment to be effective. Okay, half of the patients, we can't even help them because they've let it go too far. And then they have something like this happen. Again, can't see through blood, all right? So treatment of retinopathy, number one, prevention. You have control over your blood pressure and blood sugar and what you eat, and if you exercise, you've got to do it. So blood sugar control, blood pressure control, cholesterol control, and physical activity. Get out there and walk and exercise. We know that blood sugar control in patients with type 1 diabetes reduces the risk of developing those eye changes by 76%. That's the biggest thing, is controlling your blood sugar and your blood pressure. It slowed the progression of retinopathy by 54% and reduced the risk of bad vision. It's called macular edema, problems with that central vision. So we can do lasers to treat this. This top right picture, all those little spots are where we have lasered the retina, killed it. We've killed the retina so that we can decrease the oxygen demand so that then the retina will not grow in these leaky little blood vessels. We're having to damage good peripheral retina to save central. We're sacrificing one for the other. You don't want to have to get lasered. This is this is kind of a last resort. Injections. Yes, injections into the eye. I tried to not pick a super gross picture, but it's true. Okay, I want to scare you just a little. because you don't want to get eye injections into your eye. You have to do this about every 6 to 8 weeks. And then surgery.
All right.
Oh, yeah. So floaters are where you have, it can be a variety of things, but the normal floaters, the not scary floaters, are when the vitreous, so it's the fluid that fills up the eye, okay, kind of may clump together. And what you're seeing is the shadow, as light comes in, it hits that floater. You're kind of seeing the shadow of that clump. And that happens as you get older. I'm not calling anybody old because I have them, all right? Yes, ma'am? Is it normal to have a blood vessel burst in your eye every now and then? So when you can actually see blood on the white part of the eye, I would say if that happens like once every couple of years, you're okay, because sometimes that can happen with the sneeze or allergies and you rubbed your eye in your sleep. But if that's a recurrent thing, you might want to get blood work to make sure that you don't have some kind of blood clotting issue or other issue.
All right, so a quick review on contact lens care. Who wears contact lenses? Okay, lots of people. So super popular. This is a soft contact lens that probably the vast majority of you are wearing. It's hard to see in this picture, but outside of the iris, there's a clear ring running around, and that's the edge of the lens. There's also other type of contact lenses that you can be fitted for depending if you have certain conditions. An RGP is a rigid gas permeable lens, which is a really small hard lens. And then scleral contact lenses are also hard lenses, but they're larger and they fit over the whole cornea and onto the white part of the eye. And these are awesome because they can really bring your vision back to really good quality. So we'll just focus on soft contact lenses. Monthly replacement and then daily disposable lenses are the most common two out there. So monthly is a pretty common choice. I find a lot of my patients are wearing those. You need to remove them and store them every night. I cannot stress this enough. And you need to replace them every month. I bounce between monthlies and dailies, but right now I'm in a monthly. I take them out every night, clean them. I have a reminder every month to get a new pair out. I do the reminders because we all get busy and we all forget. But I'm well too aware of what can happen to my eyes. So I just try to stress to my patients that we've got to be really good compliant with our lenses. If that's a problem, there's daily disposables. So a lot of people even volunteer, hey, I sleep in my lenses for 3 weeks. Let's go with dailies. Great. So every single day you get a fresh, clean lens in, and every night all you have to do on your way to bed is take them out and throw them in the trash. So you don't have to clean them, anything like that, and that greatly decreases your risk for infection. It's also helpful if you've got a lot of dry eye problems, allergy problems. So again, your doctor will take a look and make recommendations based on what your eyes look like. So soft contact lens care, always wash your hands really well before handling the lenses. Store the lenses in the solution that's recommended by your doctor. There's a lot of products out there. Follow that schedule for the type of lens that you're wearing. Gently rub and rinse the lenses before you put them in the case. A lot of proteins build up on the lens during the day. So if you gently rub it for about 10 to 15 seconds, that's going to encourage those proteins to come off before you store them in your case. Always discard that lens solution in the morning. Keep the case open so it'll dry, and then put fresh solution in at night when you're taking them out. You never want to recycle solution. That's just asking for problems. Absolutely no tap water. So there's different types of solutions out there. One is a multi-purpose solution on the left. That's a really popular one. That's the one I prefer. It's the one I personally use. So this is great. Some patients need and or prefer the hydrogen peroxide. So some patients are using the multi-purpose solution, and I can tell that the lenses aren't getting cleaned enough. They're getting buildup of debris in the protein, so I quickly recommend the Clear Care. So it's awesome. It just kind of depends on what your needs are. So the Clear Care, you have to let it neutralize overnight before you put it in your eye. It has a red cap on it, which means if that solution touches your eye, you're going to be calling your eye doctor that your eye is in a lot of pain because it'll really irritate the surface of the eye. Contact lens complications are many. This isn't to scare you because I wear them. I love them. They're great. It's just you have to take care of them, and then you shouldn't run into these problems. But if you overwear the lenses, you can get corneal swelling and new blood vessels that form on the eye that aren't supposed to be there. Again, it's a need for oxygen, which is a common theme. And so the blood vessels are growing. Unfortunately, you don't notice this in its early stages, but if it continues to get worse, you're going to have vision problems from it. So the top of that picture, you can see some blood vessels growing onto the eye. Dry eye, similar picture than what I talked about last time. So dry eye symptoms, especially if you're overwearing them. Giant papillary conjunctivitis. This can be caused from contact lens overwear or just intolerance to the lens material. You would know it if you had this. You'd be pretty uncomfortable. And then when you take the lenses out, you'd feel gritty feeling. And so you'd come in, we can treat that for you as well and get you in a different lens and get it under control. Big one, corneal ulcer. This is what the speeches are about hand washing, clean cases, take them out, etc. These ulcers can be very mild and not end your vision, or they can be awful. They can be right in the center of your cornea. They can be hard to treat. They can be resistant to antibiotics. They can be a fungal infection. So it can be a lot of different things, and that's why we preach being clean to avoid getting these ulcers. And then corneal abrasion is a scratch on the cornea that can happen from getting the lens in and out incorrectly, and other dryness issues with the lens as well. All right. Eye protection.
Okay, I'm probably going to skip this one. I'll do the first slide just to give you the stats on this. How many of you are working like outside or somewhere where you're having to use eye protection? Okay. So eye protection at work, every day 2,000 people report eye injuries at work. 2,000. Okay. 3 out of 5 were not wearing eye protection. That's a lot. Common eye injuries, foreign objects in the eyes, scratches to the eyes, chemical splashes, burns, or radiation. So you just have to be wearing the proper eye protection for whatever task you're doing, whether that be goggles to prevent splashes or something really impact resistant. Welders are the worst. I don't know what you guys are doing. Put your little helmet thing on and keep it on. Like, why would you even weld without a helmet? I don't know. But you guys get metal in your eyes all the time. Or grinding. You're not going to grind metal without eye protection. Stop it. Okay? So wear eye protection if you're grinding metal or welding, for goodness sakes. Okay, so I'm going to skip on here. Sorry you don't get to see all this great stuff. It's been a pleasure. If you guys can think of any questions for us, we would be happy to answer those. We want you to come see your eye doctor regularly. That's one of those things. We catch a lot of things. I've even caught lymphoma. I did blood work on a man who thought he was fine. His wife drug him in. You know, you got to get an eye exam. You're 50 years old and you've never had one. I ran blood work. He had cancer, and he got treated. So we can catch things that matter. We can not only save vision, but save lives. So most vision loss is preventable, okay? We can at least catch it early and keep it from progressing. So which one would you prefer? Better one? Better two? So... I know, right? Can I see that again? One looks a little smaller and blacker, and one looks a little... I love that. So, yes. All right, guys, this is how you get a hold of us. You can call UAMS Jones Eye Institute for an appointment. We have 24-hour emergency care available through the UAMS ER.